of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th, 2020
This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry. Go ahead.
order imposing limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. Specific information and the guidelines for remote participation can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen and or watch the meeting either online via the town's on-demand video broadcast on the cable television on channel 191 or dial into the meeting at 774-304-1455 and enter 1428 pound for the meeting number and 12345 for the access code. This number will only be active during public meeting times. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, now I'm going to read the open statement for public hearings. In the interest of saving time, the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will hold all public hearings tonight for work within a wetland, water body, or resource area and or within the 200-foot buffer zone to a wetland, water body, or resource area in accordance with the Mass Wetland Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, and associated regulations, and the Town of Sturbridge Wetlands bylaws and associated regulations. We will not be reading the newspaper ad. Prior to the opening of the first hearing for each subject, the applicant will submit proof of notification to abutters within 200 feet of the subject property line and proof of legal newspaper advertisement. If these items are not submitted, the public hearing will not be open. Additionally, prior to the start of each public hearing, we will announce the location of the project, the applicant, and the applicant's representative. Okay, those two things. Yeah, let's... 6 p.m. we have a quorum check. We have 3 members and 3.5 members actually, and Steve Halterman is the one that is absent. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'll just give you a CPA update, and then you can go from there. The CPA had a meeting last week and approved a $106,000 increase for the additional monies necessary for lighting the Little League ball fields. So that was pretty much all we accomplished. It was a short meeting. So, and take over, Steve.
Do we have any updates for the Trails Committee, David?
The Trails Committee had a meeting on Thursday night. There was some confusion in terms of the date having been sent out as being 2 weeks from now, which would be the normal time for it. At any rate, there was a meeting. I did not attend it because of that confusion. But I need to make a note about the Trails notes that are put into the minutes. And Mr. Vice Chairman, would you like me to mention it now or wait until we approve of the minutes?
Yeah, why don't we wait for the minutes?
Very well.
Anything from the Lakes Advisory Committee, Eric?
We haven't had a meeting, no.
So it's my understanding, Becky, we have somebody that came in as a walk-in or for the tree removal. Do we want to address that quickly and then move to the hearings?
If you don't mind, I think it would be a quick discussion. I was anticipating that we'd get started a little sooner, but...
Right. Yeah, let's go ahead and
do that. Start? Okay. So this is a, Jeff, can you share my screen, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is a tree removal request for 3 Glenridge Road. And once my screen gets shared, I can go over it. It's approximately, so the property has, oh, here we go. All right, so here, here you can see is just a sketch of the property. We do have a perennial stream on the right-hand side of the property. They are requesting the removal of 9 trees. Site visit was performed last week. Mr. Halterman and myself went out there. We did review the trees and did ask for a certified arborist report as indicated in the application. So the property owners did have a certified arborist go out and look at these trees. I did receive a report from him today kind of with a summary of that. So just so you're aware, on the left-hand side, trees number 1 through 5, and I have some photos I can quickly show you too, are 5 tall pines. And then on the opposite side, closer to the stream, there's 9 trees, 3 of them being tall pines and 1 being a smaller maple tree. So the arborist did indicate that upon his assessment of the 9 trees at the location, he's deemed them to be hazards to the public and private health and high risk for failure. The 8 eastern white pines are very tall and fragile with high potential for breakage due to heavy winds, which could cause damage to the telephone wires and poles in the vicinity, as well as to the private homes and other properties, leading to potential injury. The 1 maple is very close to the power lines with a potential of high failure due to the excessive lean on the tree. So that's what we received. I can just quickly show you the photos, and then I can let the property owners move this. Property owners add their input here. So what you're seeing here is the left-hand side of the property, further from the stream, the 5 tall pines here. They are marked. We did see them marked on the site. They're just marked lower by the basis, so you can't see it here. This is on the right-hand side. Off to the side here is the stream, and then it's the swamp, or red maple, I think it is, here. And there's 3 pines in addition, 1, 2, and 3 that they're requesting to remove. Those are about 30 to 35 feet from the resource area, and the pines on the opposite side of the house are approximately 80 feet or so from there. I would recommend allowing the approval since they did have a certified arborist look at them. There is a safety concern here. There still is a canopy near the stream, so I don't think that we're going to have a significant impact with the canopy providing shade on the stream. It probably would be useful maybe to add some larger shrubs in that area versus requiring replacement trees. I wouldn't really recommend any replacements on the left-hand side of the house. I think the shrubs would be beneficial on the right-hand side near the stream, especially up in the front area near the road, to provide some habitat and some shade over there.
Thank you, Becky.
Joe, did you want to add anything? You're welcome.
Yeah, what we plan to do is if the trees get cut down, we are planning to put rhododendrons in that particular area because we have gardens down below there that go towards the stream. As you probably seen when you were here, we hate to cut these trees down, but because of the last windstorm, it was very scary here. We have a tree with we got 2 trees with Ys in them, and one of them actually cracked. We had to call our neighbor. They have a 3-year-old daughter that plays in a swing set right next to this tree. We told them to move their car. We were scared. 39 years we lived here. We've never seen anything like it. And I don't know how compromised these trees are now because they swung about 25 feet in the air side to side, and that one took the hit big time. We have another one down there that has a Y. It's been cracked for 25 years, and I really didn't do anything about it because I just kept watching it. But now that we're, senior citizens and these things are close to our house, I mean, there isn't a tree in this area that isn't less than 25 or 30 feet from our house. So they fall, they're coming down on our house.
So, Joe, you mentioned your plan is to replant, rhododendron?
Yes.
Would you consider planting some more habitat-friendly species than rhododendron?
Sure.
Okay.
Whatever
Becky,
you suggest, be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's plenty of shade there because we are leaving other trees that are there. There's another series of pine trees there that are a little further away that we're leaving. There's a hickory tree and a butternut tree that's there, and we have 2 more pines that are shading the stream. High pines that I don't think are a threat to us because they're leaning the other way. Hopefully. So we
kind of need to move this along because we're doing this as a walk-in. So, sorry to cut you off, but David, did you have any comments?
2 comments. The first one is the pictures that Becky put in the folder clearly indicated that we don't have to worry about a replanting of trees. There are plenty of trees in the area to keep the canopy going. And secondly, I agree with you, Stephen. It would be better if we could put something like winterberry or some other berry-bearing bushes in there rather than rhodies. Rhodies look good and they attract some pollinators, but they don't do anything about winter feeding for wildlife.
Well, let me tell you about wildlife. We've got so much deer running through our yard. We've got holly and hospices here, which the hospices are gone in the wintertime. But we have holly down there, and they eat our holly all the time. So, there's plenty of holly down there. We have barberry bushes that are there. So, it's a regular garden with pine trees stuck in the middle of it.
Okay, Eric, did you have any comments?
Nope, I'm good with it.
Stephen, I'm good with it too.
Okay, thanks, Ed. You want to take over then?
You can finish this one now.
Hey,
Go
so I
ahead.
guess we just need to vote on this. I would like, as we suggested, I would like instead of a rhododendron, possibly, depending on how many plantings you're going to do, maybe one of them or 2 of them can be rhododendron, and maybe, as David suggested, something that allows for wintertime, habitat. So, with that said, all in favor of the tree cutting?
Barnacle in favor.
Eric Gaspar, yes.
Ed Goodrun in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
All right,
All right, you're all set, Joe.
Do we need a permit, or are we good, or?
Yes, Joe, I will draft a permit for you, and we will mail that and email that to you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
Are you all set?
Yep.
Thank you.
all right.
You guys have a great night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, I turned it off and turned it back on, and it worked. So Jeff's right. I don't know why. So we are now at 6:15, Becky.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, 400 Haynes Street, notice of intent, DEP file number 300, no number TBD, continued from May 19th, 2020. Slip of Pilot Travel Center, LLC, applicant A. Roscoe of Core Estates Group, representative commercial redevelopment to include demolition of the travel center, the convenience store, and facilities, and the construction of a new travel center parking lot and fuel pumping facilities. Okay. So is the applicant?
All right. Yep, we do have the applicant here. Just to provide a quick summary, so this is a project continuation. It is accurate that we still don't have a DEP file number for this. Just to refresh your memory too, you did vote to approve having a peer review done for stormwater management on the site. Just so you're aware, that peer review is underway. We did receive revised project plans last week for the project. They have been provided to the peer reviewer. We don't have our report yet because of the submission of the revised plans. We do anticipate having that hopefully before the next meeting, and we can work through that at that time. So right now what we're going to do is Brad, the applicant, is on the line. He put together some PDFs just to kind of highlight where the changes in the plan submission are for you. So I'm going to let him go through
Okay.
this time for you, and then I have a few comments afterwards, and I'll say them afterwards. So go ahead, Brad.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Is it possible for me to get control so I can use the cursor to point things out?
Well, unless you had it on your screen and you had permission, and then you could use your cursor. So
I've got it up on my screen.
Yeah.
All right, so who am I making?
I've got it up on my screen.
Who am I making presenter?
Brad also. Brad also, the one that's the BA up the top.
Brad?
Yes.
Brad Hannis? Or Brad Alslip?
Brad also.
Also.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
All right.
You guys should see what I'm looking at here. So Alan Roscoe, our civil engineer, is also on the line, and he'll jump in on some of the reasoning behind doing some of the changes. Rebecca is right. We do not have a DEP file number yet. I actually corresponded with Denise Child from DEP today. They're behind based on workload and just the joys of working from home and the difficulties of getting things done in a timely manner. She did tell me they're working as quickly as possible. So again, hopefully before the next meeting, we'll have that file number. Based on the site visit that the peer reviewer and Alan, our engineer, and Rebecca and some of the board members were at, we did resubmit plans to address some of the comments that came up at that time. We wanted to be proactive and give everybody something to review that was based upon their comments at the peer or at the site walkthrough. So that's the reason for the change in plans. What you'll see now is the original design, and by that it's what was submitted for the first hearing a couple of weeks ago that the peer reviewer started. And you'll see we had a small little pond here. This is the Ovide pond, the large one that we have setbacks and buffers from. There was a small ponding area in this area, and then another further to the south that were part of our stormwater system. When I change, see, hopefully.
Did we lose you, Brad?
No, I'm just trying to get it to go back a slide.
Oh, okay. All right.
Let's see.
What happened with the next chapter?
All right, guys. I apologize. This is.
It's tough, Brad. We've been doing this a couple times now, so you know.
There we go.
Take your time.
All right. So here's the revised design. We'll get there now. So again, we still have the pond here to the gas fueling area, and so that I believe was reconfigured a little bit, but it's still in place. The pond that you could see on the last one that was kind of filling this entire area previously has now been made smaller. And then on the other side of the drive easement that goes back to the hotel, we've now put a pond between that driveway and the Ovide pond. And the reason for that, and Alan can chime in as needed, but the reason for that comes from the next slide will show where our drinking water well is. We knew there was a 100-foot setback from that, but the DEP has come back and said it's actually a 295-foot setback for stormwater infiltration. We had a pond right beside or not right beside, but pretty close to that drinking water well. So we had to move that stormwater treatment area to another part of the pond, and that's why or to the property, and that's why it was moved to this location. Let's see. I'm only going to punch the button once. There we go. So originally, this is the pond I was talking about. This is the water well and water treatment facility. We had a pond in this area to provide some infiltration. This is the area that is currently asphalt that we are going to pull up. If you'll remember from your site visit, right along this curb line, there is a row of large boulders. So we're going to put a curb there. There will have to be a break in the curb so that I can still get a truck back to access the water treatment building to take salt and such like. But we've got a curved area so the trucks can't get back there. Going to pull up the asphalt. We're going to have a pond now. It will just be a grassy area with no pond. It'll just be basically match the existing grade, but it will be pervious surface. So that's the big changes with the stormwater that were again a result of the on-site meeting and the discussions that the peer reviewer and Rebecca and others had with Alan. These sheets are really just details of the pond that's right beside the diesel fueling area. One other change that we made, which is probably immaterial to the conservation discussion, is we've actually moved the diesel fueling and the truck scale about 5 feet to the west to get them a little further away from the retaining wall, just to help from a structural standpoint.
Oh, where's my meeting though?
And again, this is showing the proposed, the revised plan and those details. So the next area I'm going to discuss okay, this is the storm drainage plan. Give me one more. I'll skip through this. All right, the Wetlands Buffer plan. This was with the original design. I know, and Alan and Rebecca, I'll have to defer to you on some of this. There was discussion about were we meeting all the buffers? Did we have everything properly delineated? So this was the original Wetland Buffer plan for the northern half of the site, and the updated doesn't have color, but it looks like it does have a couple of changes. Alan, you want to comment on that?
Well, sure thing. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the change that you'll see here is in the southern area of the fire protection pond. Rebecca had noted that the southern area of this pond has riverine characteristics. So she asked if we would look at that, which we did during the site walk, and just identify whether that's meeting the requirements to be riverfront. So you'll see it is almost in the figure of a box, which the cursor is going over right now. So where that area of the pond is now entering the culvert area, it does look like more of a riverine quality. So we've added the 100-foot and overall 200-foot riverfront zones to the plan and updated our tabulations for the area that is covered with the riverfront zone and then the area that is impacted. And I just want to note that there's no new areas of impact in the riverfront zone other than parts of the property that are already disturbed during the original development. So we're maintaining all of the setbacks between 0 to 25. There's no new alterations there, even with the shifting of that stormwater basin that Brad just alluded to. And we provided documentation about how infiltration of stormwater is not favored in a wellhead protection zone. So we provided that information, and we also provided some additional information that was requested in terms of a cross culvert. Scott Morrison, who we've also invited to participate tonight, he provided an order of conditions, which we sent over to the Conservation Commission, that relates to a cross culvert that cuts across the truck parking area on the southern part of the project site. So there was some question as to whether that might be a resource area, but I think we've answered that as well.
All right, thank you, Alan. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is one of the things that you all brought up at the last hearing was the amount of trash that gets dumped from this parking area, which is the far southern part of the truck stop site, and specifically trucks back into these spaces, and for whatever reason have decided it's a great place to empty out loads. So we have had that cleaned up a couple of times. We're trying to stay on top of it. This was the original plan. When I go to this next sheet, there we go. It's faint, unfortunately, but we are now showing a 6-foot high chain link fence starting here, going along, and it'll cut over through this area to prevent dumping. So we would put the 6-foot high chain link fence so the guys can't just back up. I'm still toying with how I'm going to keep them from backing into the fence. My initial thought, and don't hold me to this because I've got to make sure it's going to work, is to actually take all of the boulders that are no longer going to be needed to protect the well, since we'll have a curved area there, and set them, the boulders right in front of the curb. There will still be plenty of maneuvering room for the trucks in the parking area, but we'll have the boulders to keep the trucks off the fence and the fence to prevent dumping. So I think that'll make a significant improvement to that situation. And of course, we will make sure that necessary operation and maintenance procedures are in place to police that area and clean up anything that is thrown over the fence. One other thing is, I had mentioned last time that we were going to relocate the leaching field for the wastewater treatment plant. These lines, double lines that you see where my cursor is, that is the new leaching field with a force main that goes to the wastewater treatment plant that's approximately right here.
All right, is that it?
I believe that's the last page.
All right, we'll go to questions from the Becky. You want to start?
I just wanted to provide a couple comments. So I just wanted to verify about the wetland delineation. So they did revise the riverfront area that I had the question about. It is shown on the plan. And then the other area that was of question is actually shown on this revised design sheet. Oh,
sorry.
Just
Took it off.
Okay. I can reshare mine if
you pop it right, it's
give
still up on my screen. You pop it up and or you give me control again, I'll pop it right back. I apologize, guys.
You should still have control, Brad.
Oh, I do?
Yep.
Let's see.
So just share your screen.
Well, I'm trying to get, there we go. Screen. And this one. Sure.
There you go.
perfect.
All right, is this the one you want?
Yep. So up in the upper portion of the page, you can see there's a swale that comes down with a circle right up there. So Scott did send a copy of those orders of conditions. So I pulled that project out, and that one actually didn't have anything for this portion of the site. It was related to, I think it was like a dam repair replacement that was done. But we did have another file that I did pull out, another project, and it did have an overall plan that did show this area, and it did have some information on there showing that it was, I think it's like an 8-foot riprap swale that comes down, feeds into, and it shows it as a detention basin with that cross culvert that comes down. And it does appear, I went back and looked at the aerial photos, that there's no resource areas up there, so it appears that it's just stormwater from Route 84. I think there's also like an easement for the Commonwealth for that there. So I don't see any concerns with that. It does appear to be a stormwater system. So I think we're all set with the revised delineation as shown on the revised set of plans. I guess my other comments would have been about the fence, so I'm glad to see that you included the fence on there. I just can't tell from here if it extends all the way to the end of the parking, because I think it was the end of the parking that was the biggest area. Yeah, kind of just where your cursor is, those last ones. So if it just makes sure the fence goes all the way to the end, that was kind of the bad section, I thought. So that would be useful. So thank you for adding that in there. The one other thing that we talked about was the potential inclusion of a gate to prohibit people from driving over the dam. I didn't know if you guys had a chance to look into that, any options for like those breakthrough gates or some type of lock that's shared with the fire department. I know we have kind of both things in town on some different sites. I thought that, having something there would be really useful, and maybe things will change in the future, but it does appear that, there is some traffic that's going over there, and there's no protection if someone kind of drove off the dam right there, and having, a vehicle end up in that resource area could be a big impact. So I thought if there's some way to maybe add a gate or something that could prevent people from crossing, that would be a good inclusion and be beneficial for the resource area.
Yeah, and Rebecca, we will certainly take a look at that. There's got to be a solution. I don't want to commit to a specific solution. I would like to just keep working with you to come up with something that's acceptable to you, to the fire department, and to Jean and her group to make sure that it works. But I have no problem doing something to block that off in a safe manner. And what I'm looking at right now is probably something in the area where my cursor is. We'll just have to figure out what's the best way of doing that so that we don't impact, as we're installing it, the pond, but we also provide what's needed. So I have no problem with that.
Thank you. I don't have any other comments.
Anybody? David?
I only have one question for the applicant. With the newly revised plan, is there any reduction in the amount of pervious surface that was gained during the previously issued plan?
No, we should not be losing any of the pervious surface that we gained. Alan, was there any increase or did it stay the same?
Thank you.
I know it did stay the same the way we had proposed it originally. So the only real change again was fitting in a drainage basin in an area that was already having pavement removed. So the easement roadway that goes back to the hotel, we were proposing to remove the parking spaces that go alongside that driveway.
And that would be right in this area.
That's correct. So we're gaining pervious by removing the parking, the paved parking, and then gaining, stormwater improvements by putting stormwater basins in there.
Thank you.
And Eric?
Yeah, with regard to the fence, is there a way that could be taller? I'm concerned that with a 44-inch dock height truck, when you back up on a 6-foot fence, you're essentially below waist high for your average truck driver, and getting over a 6-foot fence would really not be all that difficult for whatever dumping there might be occurring there, if it's anything of movable weight. So if that was an 8 or a 10-foot fence, I think that would eliminate a significant amount of that possibility. Is that something that you guys would be willing to look at?
Certainly we can look at it, but if you'll recall, I'm going to try to put the boulders or something to keep them from ever getting back to the fence. Because if they can get back to the fence to throw stuff over it with their, standing in their truck, they'll just back into the fence and push it down. So I'm going to have to put those boulders or a series of bollards, something up there that will keep them from getting that close to the fence. So I think that will accomplish the same thing. To keep them from being able to just back up and toss stuff over.
Okay. Well, as long as we can get some assurances that something like that is going to go in to curb that, I'm comfortable with it. But like I said, six feet against a 44-inch dock height doesn't seem like enough. But if you think it's going to be significant enough buffer, then I'd be okay with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Stephen?
Yeah, I had the same comment as Eric, but other than that, I'm good.
The only question I had, and this is kind of this is Ed Goodwin, out of touch question, is there any encroachment from the new detention basin on the pond?
No, we've tried to maintain the 25-foot no disturb.
Okay. And then the other, when you're talking impervious, what are you talking about? Pervious, I mean. When you're talking pervious, what are you talking about?
The areas that we're pulling up asphalt will just be grass, landscape type areas.
All right. Those are my two questions. Back to you on we've got to continue this anyway. So
Correct. So we're waiting for the peer review on the stormwater.
Yeah.
Next meeting's in 2 weeks.
So
June 16th.
you gentlemen are amenable to a continuation?
Yeah,
That's
yes.
what we'd like to do.
Yeah, let's continue it. And I'm supposed to be with Planning Commission a week from today to see what their thoughts are. So hopefully we'll get the peer review and everybody will feel a lot better, and maybe the Planning Commission at least can move forward. So I do appreciate your time, and Rebecca, obviously, if you have any questions that come up, just let me know.
Okay.
David,
so you know that.
Continuation.
Did you vote for it, David? That's what I was going to ask.
David Barnacle in favor.
In favor? Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Okay, great. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you very much,
Thank
folks.
you.
Yep, thank you.
It'll be 6:30 on June 16th.
6:30. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, if you want to stay and run your cursor, you can.
He's already gone.
All right. We're up to 6:30, 6 and 8 Picker Road. Request for determination of applicability. New England Cold Storage, LLC. Applicant, Glenn Kravosky, EBT Engineering Consultants, representative for the construction of a temporary access road at 6 and 8 Picker Road.
All right, so I just want to make you. Yep. Oh, Glenn, I'm just going to start. Sorry. I just want to make everyone aware that we do have the legal ad and the butter notifications for this public hearing, and then I also I do have some materials here that were received today, so these are new materials for the commission to look at. So, Glenn, I'll let you. I have all the three things that you sent me. I also have the agreement for the use of 6 Picker Road. I have them all ready to go, so I'll let you kind of move forward, and you can discuss what the revisions on this plan are too.
Thank you very much. This is David Barnacle. Did we receive those revisions today?
Yes.
Yes, did.
Then why are we discussing them today? We haven't had a chance to review them.
They're minor revisions. We can discuss the old plan and get it out of the way and not look at the new plan if that was what you would like, Mr. Barnacle.
Our normal procedure is that by Friday we try to have the information in hand.
Then we'll look at what you already received. Thank you, Mr. Barnacle.
Well, go ahead, David.
No, I'm done.
Okay, we're
ready?
Go ahead.
Thank you. On the old plan, which we reviewed in the field with the site inspection, thank you, Conservation Commission, the access to 8 Picker, or the temporary road driveway leading from 8 Picker into 6 was close, as I noted, it was within the 25-foot no disturbance zone. So after that site inspection, I reached out to the engineers and the clients, and I said, we overlooked that this thing was within 25 feet, leading off of the asphalt as we walked out of the woods the other day at number 8. So I had them move it enough to get it out of the 25-foot no disturbance zone, and that was the change on the access way. Also, right, we do need more time for you to review this, and we expect that you'll have that more time because we don't have a DEP file number for number 6. So we would be asking for a continuance on number 6, but we still could discuss it because you do have those materials. And in that next 2 weeks or whenever your next meeting is, then possibly you could look at the RDA where we move the access way on the temporary outside of the 25. That being said, the clients also, I asked that they put together a reasoning why they would want to use this temporary access to get into the site, as they explain in one of the letters Rebecca has now from Mr. Panis out of Atlanta, the builders. They explained that for a couple of months it's going to take to build the permanent access. This is another project, though. I don't want to get into the number 6 totally because we're on number 8. So here the RDA, there is some ramifications.
Who's on first?
It's 8 first, RDA 6 is second, 15 minutes later for the NOI.
Well, this RDA is for 6 and 8 Picker Road.
Yeah.
Right, but the NOI is, but the ramifications are due to what number 6. So if I do go into number 6 and why we're looking for the temporary access on number 8 into 6 is because there's a 2-month lag time with the developers of the site feel to build, if we do get the permit, to build the access over the brook, the 28-foot bridge span, bridging both the land on the water body and the bank and the BBW. And in order to construct the east side of the crossing, this is only one point, and it was brought up at the site inspection, that we would want to dig from the construction side, the building side, or the east side of the number 6 to build the footing. There was discussions of putting swamp mats over that dry brook bed, which was, again, dry the other day. But it was more than just swamp mats. We're looking to access the site for a couple of months to get under construction once and if we do receive an order from you. I don't take anything for granted. Once we receive an order, we would go in with the temporary access, start building the permanent access in from Picker Road, build both sides, build the footings, then crane in finally the bridge. But in that 2-month time lag, we would have the opportunity, and Rebecca has this for your review. I don't want to go too deep into it because I do want all the board members to review why we're asking for the temporary access. So I'll just say that we do understand there'll be a continuance, and if possible, I'm going to be asking for a continuance, and I'll follow up with paperwork also on this number 8-6 or RDA to give you plenty of time to review the engineer's discussion and the developer's discussion about getting the site underway. So I'll leave it at that on the temporary access, only receiving, as you said, the paperwork today.
Okay. So you're asking for a continuation on 6 and 8 Picker Road?
The RDA. I would still like to talk the 15 minutes you might give us, or 10 minutes. The engineers are online, the owner's online, our builders from Atlanta line, Arco, their name is. And in case they have anything else to say about the site at number 6, I would hope that we could at least open that up, do a discussion, and then continue that one after that discussion.
All right, so I'm going to ask the committee for a approval of a continuation that you're requesting on the RDA for 6 and 8. David?
In favor.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. So we are now complete on the RDA for 6 and 8 Picker. And you are
Thank you,
now
sir.
on to, okay, I'm going just to announce, we're at 2645. We are now on 6 Picker Road. We have a notice of intent, DEP file number 300 TBD, New England Cold Storage LLC, applicant Glenn Kravosky, EBT and Environmental Consultant, representative for the construction of wetland crossing and a commercial site infrastructure. You're on.
Thank you, sir. Just so I can put it in my notes, when's the next meeting?
The next meeting is Tuesday, June 16th, and this will be, the RDA is continued till 6:45.
Thank you very much, Ms.
You're welcome.
Thank you, number 6 Picker and the notice of intent. Rebecca, did you want to start again and then I'll go into it?
Yep. So I'll just add, the legal ad and butter notifications have been received for this one as well. We do not have a DEP file number to date. So this project includes the construction of a bridge to cross an intermittent stream and a bordering vegetated wetland to access the back upland areas of this project site. It's a pretty large development, and I'll let Glenn kind of go into the details and summarize that for you. Resource areas that we have on site, we have bank, land, underwater, and bordering vegetated wetlands. Primary resource areas are located near Picker Road. We do have some bordering vegetated wetland towards the back eastern portions, I guess it is, of the project too. We did have a site visit last week. We did walk the site with Glenn Kravosky. Took a look at the wetland delineation. Don't anticipate any concerns with the BBW flagging there. The only thing that I would note, I guess, at this time is that only the area where the crossing is, bank was picked up, and I think that it would be useful and probably required to have the bank flags shown for the whole stream as part of the analysis we'll need to do down the road with the stream crossing to make sure it's sited in the right location. Glenn, I'll let you kind of go into the project now, and then I have a couple other comments to share for the commission afterwards.
Thank you, Rebecca. As far as the bank delineation anywhere else on the property, if we look at the site, all other areas, the wetland is considerably wider. And as the regulations call for avoid, minimize, and mitigate as the premise, this would be the only the narrowest, clearly by far, the narrowest location to cross and gain access into the site. And that's why the bank was only flagged, and that minimum 3 to 4 foot wide bank and this highly intermittent stream, which starts just on the property above us, was delineated at the location where we're crossing so that we could understand and do stream crossing standards with a 90% openness ratio, which I did ask the engineers to submit, and they did. So there would be no other logical location to access through thousands of square feet of wetland or bridging those wetland square footages, where here it is the narrowest point. This parcel has been in this form since pre-04. Mr. Prouty bought the site originally as an industrial park and Prouty Glickman, and then they continued on with selling other pieces, and it's stuck around for the last, we have 16, 20, 24 years. So I'm not sure what the use of flagging the other bank, but I'll leave that subject because you brought it up. I had to say something about it. We have the engineers on site. Again, we looked at the full width of span. There was a question about utilization of 310 CMR 10.533E, the limited access provision of the regulation, to utilize to gain access to this upland parcel, 18.47 acres. And we did cite policy 88-2, which is the policy for limited access crossings. And Ms. Gendreau did ask at the end of the site inspection to justify when a parcel on Technology Park was sold off that might have allowed for upland access to this to this 18 acres, 18 and a half. And we did find, Ms. Gendreau, to answer your question, it was sold off in 2004. That would be the building on Technology Park Road between the mini storage and the gas company. That small brick building in between was sold off. was actually sold, and Burton Engineering did the engineering aspect of it, and there was a question as to would that have allowed us to have upland access without crossing wetlands. And for that reason, we bridged the full span, so we weren't filling any wetlands, because we do recognize that there was a sale of property under 88-2. In that sale, it did not, it references, and I have it as Exhibit 11, if you please at some point review, I know Rebecca reviewed it, I'm sure the board too, reviews the policy, and it states that particularly where the applicant had, this is on page 2 of 4, has had notice, as described in number 3. And to go to number 3, which I highlighted in the this exhibit number 11, it is also recommended, where appropriate, to include a special permanent condition advising the applicant and anyone performing a title search on the property, this is brief, in the future, that any future project to cross wetlands to gain access to certain portions of the property will not be qualified as a limited project roadway under 310 CMR 10.533. So what I did with that is go back into both the order of conditions and the deed for the parcel that was sold. The order of conditions was issued, date of issuance, 2009, 2012, 2004, excuse me. Mr. Barnacle was on the board at the time, I'm sure you recall. I won't cite the other 2 members, but they're in here. And there was nothing in the order that was warning the property owner that you might be selling off some upland access to this back land. That all being said,
yeah, that's, well, wait, let me just respond to that.
yes,
You know, that we are not responsible for legal work for anybody. And
but that
what,
is, thank
and
you.
we don't, we
I
do
got
not, you got it. We got the fact
I
that
got
we don't, we're a board
I-
that is to protect the wetland. We don't protect the developer. The developer is on his own. He has a lawyer.
I understand. Yeah, he has a lawyer, but it also says to the Conservation Commission in this policy that the commission gave warning to the applicant. So there is actually, this isn't just the lawyers or the attorney. It's also
It says we gave warning.
You didn't give him warning, but that's okay. I understand that you would take that stance, but it is in the policy that you give up that. Particularly when you gave him warning. We regret that Burton Engineering, probably Mike Loyne, had not understood these points and that this thing went forward in 04. That being said, the project, as I wrote up in the project description, what I hope you would read, this is applicable under 1054, 1055, 1056, and 1057 flooding is not there, as Rebecca said, no rare species under 1059. So we wrote in the project description that this is applicable as we're not exceeding any performance standards under 54, 55, or 56, being the bank, land under water body, or bordering vegetated wetlands. In fact, we're not filling any permanent wetlands, and we're at 200, I believe, square feet. It's in your notice of intent, Mr. Goodwin, Mr. Barnacle. It is in there where it states, in fact, it's in the project description also, that the temporary disturbance, 250 square feet of temporary disturbance to dig the footings for...
Well, we haven't got it in front of us. You just delivered it today, right?
No.
No, we've had these plans.
Oh, we've
Yeah,
had
this,
this.
okay, all right, yeah.
This is all there, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, okay.
So, yes, we gave the full notice of intent, all this description. It is in the notice. We hope you all read it. And we did state that the 53 was not looked at as the way it's described in the policy, in that method that could move forward. 16 years ago, yes, did someone sell off a piece of property that might have gained access to upland without crossing wetlands? Well, we recognized that when we first got into this. No, we didn't just recognize it by ourselves. Ms. Gendreau brought it forward. And so we looked at all the ramifications of that, and that's why we fully bridge the resource areas.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
Glenn, do you or the engineer want to kind of go over the proposal quickly? I have one of the sheets up here. I can go between this one and the other one, just do a quick overview of the project here.
Andrew Baum, are you there? He told me he could make it to this meeting. I don't hear him. Are
on
any
there.
of my clients?
I'm here, Glenn.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Mr. Baum, she asked Glenn EBT or the engineer. Rebecca, might I have the engineer describe some of the aspects
Yes.
of this project?
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, Andy, do you want to give a quick overview of the whole project for us?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, this is Andy Baum from Summit Engineering. We're the civil engineer of record for this project. And Rebecca, this sheet and the subsequent sheet are probably the most descriptive of the proposed work that the commission would be interested in. So on the right-hand side of that, that plan view is Picker Road. It's an existing town road. Just to the south of that is the parcel that's currently under construction for Delio Gas. And then to the north, right where you're, on the north side is the metallurgical building, the testing facility where we're talking about the temporary access. The overall topography of the site grades from what would be on the upper right-hand side of that page, behind the CubeSmart facility, and then pitches to the west or northwest, down Picker Road, and there is a swale or a intermittent stream that actually goes underneath the metallurgical building, and then ultimately underneath the Mass Pike. Picker Road is a dead-end street, industrial park area. It's serviced by water and sewer, and there is some street drainage located in the road. Like Glenn had discussed before, there's a pretty substantial wetland on both sides of this lower area of the site, with a narrow area that was the most optimum to minimize the impact to the bordering vegetative wetlands in the interest of the Act. So the driveway comes in. It's a 30-foot wide driveway. The reason for the width is this is a freezer warehouse facility that's proposed, so there's going to be a lot of inbound and outbound trucks. They were sensitive in the design to the vertical alignment and the vertical pitches of the road. So the portion of the road that goes from Picker Road all the way to the crossing has about a 2.5% to 3% pitch to get over the crossing and provide the openness area. And then it dips down just about by the 25-foot buffer zone. There's a low spot in the road, and then it proceeds to go uphill. And you can see by all the grading shown that we go uphill towards the facility, and the trucking area is located in the back. Just to stay on the...
Hold on for 1 second, please.
Sure.
Becky, would it be possible for you to blow up the actual part of it, not the left side or the right side with the advertising? Because it's very, very restricted.
Is that better?
Even that's better. Yes, thank you.
I mean, I can zoom in more. It's just...
Yeah, do it more. Yes, excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's just I can't see it the way you guys can see it, so just let me know.
Oh,
Well, we haven't been able to see it at all, so now it's good.
bring it right there. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey,
All right,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll walk through some of the things. So you'll see a gray hatched area in the middle of the road on what's now like the middle left. Yep, right by that. That's the crossing area that we're talking about. The buffer zone shown, so you have a phantom line, so 2 long dashes. That's your 25-foot local buffer zone. The next one out is a little heavier. It's a smaller phantom line. Is the 50-foot buffer zone. And then the single center line is a 100-foot buffer zone, and then the subsequent 200-foot is out beyond that. It's another heavier center line type on the plan. So that access road, like I was talking about, is 30 feet wide up to the first intersection of the road, which is at the top of that sheet. Then the paving is narrowed down to allow one-way traffic for the heavy truck traffic around the building. try to reduce the amount of paving or keep the paving areas smaller. So yeah, she just transitioned to the second page. Yeah.
Is that okay for you?
That looks pretty good, Becky.
That's good, Beck, yeah.
So the perimeter access road wraps around the building and goes to the back of the truck area. Like I said, this is a freezer building. It's for frozen warehouse storage where trucking can bring it in or out, and Brady or Mr. Bailey can discuss the line of business more than I could. On the left-hand side of the building is parking. There's 39 stalls, standard stalls for the town of Sturbridge to allow for employees, office use, which is a very small area, and mechanical equipment use. Truck storage is up on the top of the hill. One of the challenges on this site is being able to manage the grading and try to keep the site as balanced as possible, utilizing on-site materials, minimize the amount of trucking that's going to come in and out of the facility during construction. So the road progresses uphill almost all the way to the back line, almost where you see that heavy line between where it says cold dock storage and proposed building. That's about the high point of the site. Yep. That MHE is for mechanical and equipment. Storage inside is a dock that's actually at grade. And then it proceeds to go back downhill to allow for truck dock parking at the loading dock where it says cold dock storage. There is another wetland that Glenn talked about on the easterly side, or northeasterly side of CubeSmart, and you can see those buffer zones there. Yep. The only work that would be within your interest or jurisdiction would be within a 200-foot local zone. We're able to keep the rest of the work outside of that area. And on the upper right-hand side of that plan, that does abut Podunk Pike. It is a no-access portion of Route 49, so the ability to get into the site from that side is limited. So drainage-wise,
Just going to minimize it a little bit, so see if we can point out the drainage easier here for you.
okay, so right there, Becky, soil types are predominantly type C. We had borings and on-site testing done by a geotechnical engineering firm, but soil testings were type C at glacial till, not unexpected at this particular site. To manage the water, because the whole site sheets from basically the left-hand side of the page predominantly to the right-hand, the right-hand side of the page predominantly to the left-hand side of the page, down towards the metallurgical building. We divided the site a little bit for the upper basin, that little triangle shape behind metallurgical and adjacent to the pike. We'll be able to manage only roof water under this design. The rest of the site, we have it going through a series of treatment train processes. So there's a low spot on the eastern side of the truck dock that flows around and down the access way, picking up surface water from the paved areas, surface areas, to go into the drainage basin, which is labeled Drainage Basin A.
I'm going to change sheets now.
That would probably be best, yeah.
Must be a lowercase a.
We could put that in
Where
there.
does that drainage basin dump into?
So let me continue. There is a direct recharge basin up to the right of Drainage Basin A. You can see that stone hatch, if you will. That's direct recharge for roof drain coming off of the eastern side of the building. So we wouldn't have to take up the basin area for direct recharge. The rest of the water coming off the parking area goes into a forebay for stormwater treatment and then into the infiltration basin. That basin is a little, if you came up the road, the access road, that basin will be actually higher than the road itself. Excuse me. And then there's a outfall out of drainage basin A, which is the larger one on the right, that comes down and discharges on the right-hand side of the access road. Right, yep, right there, right by your corner. Yep. There's a low spot, if you remember we describing the road, also just to the left of that pointer, Becky. There's 2 catch basins and a storm scepter, a proprietary device proposed, because drainage basin B, which is a smaller, oval-shaped one, I don't have enough real estate in that area and maintaining the 25-foot no disturb zone to put in a 4-bay for treatment. So we're proposing a storm scepter to be able to provide some initial treatment along with catch basins, and then the infiltration basin. And then again, we have a discharge point that comes up under the north side of that basin. That leaves one other discharge point for the site, which is down by the intersection of Picker Road. If you want to pan up just a little bit.
Here.
Yep. There's 2 catch. So this area is a little disjointed. There's a drainage easement that comes off of the DeLeo gas site. Right now we're proposing a drop inlet and a culvert crossing because their water is already treated through their site design process. Our water coming off of the driveway is going to be collected by 2 catch basins at the throat, right at the intersection of the street line for Picker Road. Again, utilizing a storm scepter for water treatment, and then a direct discharge on what would be the uphill side. You can see the riprap patch right next to the abutting DVW. Yep, right there. So that's the overall flow of the area. The drainage calculations were provided as part of the application that show that we match the peak flow rate excuse me, for your design events. Again, I think I mentioned water and sewer for the site. There's going to be a fire protection line and a domestic water line that services the facility. At the top of the hill, there will be a bladder tank and a fire protection system due to the existing water pressure at the top of the hill. Sewer will be through a gravity line down near the bridge and then go to an E1 injector pump system for low pressure sewer. There is no gravity connection available on Picker Road, so it would have to be pumped up to the intersection of Picker Road and
20.
Not
20.
quite 20, Industrial Park.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the town had put in, or FW Web had put in a manhole with a spare line that we'll be connecting to, and it's right kind of on the opposite end side of that driveway. You know, somewhere in there, can't see exactly where, Becky, but somewhere in there, there's a driveway. Yeah. So that's where that sewer line will connect up. All surfaces will be paved. I know there was a comment about adding some additional plantings for the berm for Basin A, adjacent to the 50-foot buffer zone, which will revise the plans accordingly. I don't know if there's any other questions. That's a good overview of the site, I think.
I think that's a good overview. If the committee's amenable to it, you can hold your questions. I mean, we've got to continue it anyway, so we'll get a chance to take a look at it. If anything jumps out at you, though, you probably should say it. But I mean, other than
I have just one quick question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned a number of places where you're putting storm scepters. Are any of them going to have oil water separators, considering the fact that it's mostly going to be truck traffic that's going to be entering and departing from that facility?
So your primary treatment is going to be through the catch basin, which is kind of a first phase oil and water separator. I'll have to look back to see what if Storm Scepter has or what they say about the oil water separation for that model. It's the 450i.
That was what I was considering, yes.
Okay.
all right. Any other questions?
Might I say one more thing? Unless somebody muted me. If you unmute me.
Who's speaking?
You can move. I think I'm on the phone anyway. The only other thing to say is that we also proposed planting on the opposite basin, the basin as you're going into the right, on those slopes facing the wetlands. And also there was some discussion of that's coming in on the reason for that basin. It is over 50 feet from the resource area, but we felt that bush and mass crop thing would serve well on that basin rim facing the wetland also. So you're going to see a little revision there, and we're not using trees, but it will be dense with berry crop bushes, native.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Would you like a continuation?
Yes, sir. We're asking for it. Thank you.
All right.
Hey,
David?
can I just add a comment
Go
for
ahead.
you?
Go ahead, Becky.
Before you,
Sure.
yeah. So because this has stormwater, I mean, I just have a couple recommendations, which would, I mean, obviously they have to have a continuation because there's no file number, but if we can get started with potentially some third-party reviews, I think it would be in their interest to get that kind of started. So I have two recommendations.
Okay.
One would be to have a third-party stormwater review, since we don't have the in-house capabilities of doing so. A request for proposal did go out. We've been coordinating with planning, as it'll be in front of the planning board as well. And we did receive, I think we put out for 5 different proposals, and we received 2 at this time. I did provide those for your ability to look at those prior to the meeting, and spoke to Jean Boubon in the planning department. The 2 that we have, we both feel comfortable with both engineering companies. I spoke to her a little bit more today. I've only worked with McClure Engineering out of the 2, based off of one of the reviews we recently did, and was speaking to Jean about it, and that was going to be my recommendation. However, the engineer that did the review for us at that time has left the agency and now is with the CMG, which is the other one. So CMG would be my recommendation for the engineering firm to move forward with for a stormwater review.
So you want to get the, what did you, broke up, what did you want to do?
Oh, sorry. Well, if you had a chance to look at the proposals, if you'd like to,
The 2 of them, yeah.
vote on exercising your right for that third-party review for stormwater, you could discuss that and make that vote at this time and choose one of the agencies.
Thank you.
One of the 2?
Unless you'd like us to put a request back out, and to get a third, we usually, per regulations, you look at 3. We did put the request out and only got 2 back.
That's not necessary. I'd like to make a proposal that we agree to having CMG as a third-party reviewer for the site.
For stormwater management?
The stormwater management.
Do I have a second on that?
Stephen
Eric
Chester,
Gaspar, second.
I got both of you. All right. Polly can pick one, right? Any discussion? All in favor, David?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. So, all right. Great, Becky. That'll get
I have one
keep
more
things moving.
I have one more recommendation for you too. I'm going to recommend that you exercise your ability to require a third-party wetland consultant for this project to assist with the review for compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act and our regulations. I mean, we had some initial kind of discussion about limited project status and the potential of some DEP policies applying, and some history looking back a little bit. So I would recommend requiring an outside consultant that can assist us with ensuring that have the correct information to make the determination to move forward with issuing the limited project status that the project would need. In addition, we need to look at an alternative analysis and look at, the potential that the hardship question that came up, because that is in the limited project status requirement. So I'm going to recommend that you exercise your right. We have a consultant assist us with the review.
All right. would anyone like to discuss it as far as, David, do you have any thoughts on it?
I agree with Becky.
Eric?
Stephen Chittister, I also agree. Why don't we make a
Okay.
motion and vote on it?
All right. You make a motion, and
I'll
do
second
I have a
it.
second? David, that was you seconding it?
David Barnacle seconds it.
Yep, okay. Discussion?
David Barnacle in favor?
Stephen
All right.
Chittister in favor?
Eric?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Eric Gaspar in favor.
Ned Goodwin in favor. Okay,
Mr. Chair, do you want to see if anybody's
So
on
we
the
have-
phone?
yes, that's a good point. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Hold on 1 second, please.
Yep.
Get to turn the volume.
Is anyone from the public on the line for 6 Picker Road, NOI?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so having made those two motions, and I think we're at a point where we will go to a continuation with the, Glenn, you're all right with that?
Yes, we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All in favor, David,
David Barnacle in favor?
Stephen,
Stephen Chittister in favor?
Eric,
Eric Gaspar in favor.
and Ed Goodwin in favor. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
That's one of the best presentations that we've had on the phone so far. I was able to follow the whole thing. That was really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thanks. Good.
So that's been continued to June 16th at 7 o'clock.
Thank you again for that.
Yep. All right, now we are at 7 o'clock, 1:30 and 140 Fisk Hill Road, request for determination of applicability. And it's continued from May. Goulas G. Allsworth LLC, represented by Len Kravosky of EBT Engineering Consultants. Glenn, you're on again.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. I do know that as I was running back from North Reading that I did not make your last meeting, but I heard from one of my clients that there was a discussion not to continue this any longer. We were waiting. There was a beaver problem over the winter time. It did bring the pond up. We had discussed with Ms. Gendreau the delineation of the edge of the pond to see where the 100-foot buffer would come in, or 100-foot buffer to the top of bank, and where the 200 would be. That plan was sent into the commission today. Again, the last minute, but the beaver problem had just been solved. The water is still outflowing from it, but the original farmer's channel, it's flowing out at the elevation that the farmer had dug, and when he drained this thing some colonial time ago. So I was able to flag with 41 TB top of bank flags this weekend. The surveyors picked the flags up yesterday, plotted it today. And this plan is not exactly what I was looking for from the engineers. Plus, it's not your full 7-day review time, we understand, but we did this because we finally had the opportunity to get at least the top bank so we could discuss the potential for CRs of this 62-acre site. We're proposing we have vernal pools within the site, down gradient, or I might say to the, I'm looking at that arrow. I wish my glasses could see. To the lower left on the plan, below the pool, we have enough documentation to certify pools within the site now. Where we have not been able to get offspring shiners that I had last year. So we delineated the top of bank so that we could see what the 100-foot buffer would be to the pond, and then also the 200, as we know that you have both 100 and 200 to potential vernal pools. The plan would then show that a landing area, not this buffer zone shown here, that's a wetland buffer, that we could easily stay outside the 100-foot buffer to the pond and outside of any 50-foot buffer or 25-foot no disturbance, 50-foot structure zone to wetlands. And as he's only seeking, I think, 3 houses out of this whole thing, we would like to get an agreement on the top of bank flags, even if there was a peer reviewer, so that we could clearly show you what the 100-foot around that potential vernal pool looks like. And then we would work with our attorney to set up land within the site to permanently preserve it. So I'm asking, even though, but you did not have this in front of you the last meeting a couple weeks ago, that we now do have a delineation of the pond, and that if you had the opportunity to review the 41 top of bank flags, come in with 100-foot buffer flags, and then just close it as an agreement on the resource area bank of this.
Are the flags on a plan?
They're on this plan in front of you. They're the flags. We're looking. Yes, they are. In fact, if you're looking closer to the road and maybe to the left top of the plan, you see 2, not parallel, but going together flag lines. The upper flag line closer to the top of the page is BVW. The flag line directly below it is the top of bank. That's the edge of the pond. So, Rebecca, there you go.
There you go.
So,
okay.
All right, so Glenn, just to clarify, this line you're saying is top of bank.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the other line is the line that's shown on the plan in the order of resource area delineation, correct?
Yes, Rebecca.
Okay.
That was the add-on to see what the pond looks like, both facing the road and facing this the landing, the clearing. You also see the clearing on this plan within the site, right to the right of the buffer zone lines cut through it. So actually, on this plan, he did get. This is the accurate plan. There you have the 100-foot on it, paralleling the bank, and there outside of that, you see the 100-foot buffer zone to wetlands. So there's 2 buffers here. I did have him revise it earlier today. He missed that fact that it was 100 from the bank for the pool and 100 from the wetland for that buffer zone. We know you have other buffer zones, but that gives us the 2 different zones. And I'm asking that be reviewed. You know, it's been a long process, but we do have this additional information. And if that bank could be approved under the RDA, then I guess we would move forward to the next stage as a NOI.
So you are asking us to, you're authorizing a peer review?
Yes. I can see myself back up there. I see Mr. Barnacle smiling, so I'm smiling back. Yes, I'm asking for. Yes, you could peer review, Rebecca. It's a pretty cut and dry line. We have at the outflow, we have the elevation of the water. At the outflow, if you see this plan more clearly, and I know you just received it, you'll see what the muck that the beaver used to dam it. So we both picked up the high water elevation for the beaver ponding area, and then the water elevation as it crests and leaves down through the farmer's channel. So that was just a couple of additional information, because at each top of bank flag that's picked up, the surveyor has elevations of those flags. So if we compare it to the pond elevation at the outflow, we can also then compare back to the bank elevations and see that none of those bank flags are at the water. They're generally just above it to account for higher outflows. Although this has no, say, brook flowing into it, it's a groundwater-fed pool. There's a slight amount of water coming in from the south, groundwater discharge, but no definitive stream. So it's a glacial pond that appears to be somewhat drained by the farmer, and on 62 acres. And we're just trying to move forward with Perkin Deeps and a few houses up here on Fisk Hill, and maybe 2 down at McGilpin. And then we preserve land.
Okay, so this started, just to go back a little bit, I mean, this RDA came in last year with some information where
Right.
you're doing survey efforts. So the purpose of the RDA, I guess, was you were kind of trying to establish if there was vernal pool habitat here or not. So this property has an order of resource area delineation that was issued, I believe it was October of 2017. And the line just was approved for the outer extent because there was a lot of upland, wetland within the site, but really the outside line just had to be established. So that was done back in 2017. But the question of some of the wetlands' ability to function for vernal pool habitat was outstanding. So my understanding was your submittal of the RDA was to establish that. And at the time, it kind of came up question and concern about, having a protocol submitted in advance for prior review and approval before survey efforts. So as we started kind of discussing the RDA, approximately this time last year when it came in, the question came up that if, to meet the standards and the regulations, if you can stay the 200 feet away, which is what the buffer for the vernal pool habitat would be, that maybe there wouldn't be the requirement or the need to do the survey effort within the pond. And that's kind of where we left it, and Glenn and the project team kind of went back and we're going to do some review of the site, etc. So I think what Glenn's trying to show here is that this new line on this top of the bank would be the outer extent of vernal pool habitat, and then he's showing where just 100-foot is on here. Is that correct, Glenn?
That is what's shown on there. We will add in the 200 on there also.
200.
That's the gist.
So I'm not clear with what you're asking, because I think the original RDA, the request was to review the submittal of information for determining if it was, subject to the local bylaw for the vernal pool habitat. So, based off of a review of this, where we're at, I don't know where the work areas would be. So the question would be where are the work areas, but I guess the determination, my recommendation, if it was moved to a determination at this time, it would appear that this area shown on the plan would be subject to the Sturbridge Wetland Bylaw.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the original question was. So either, not sure how you want to move forward with this.
Well, if I could, if you let me, I ask that I just say that I would, if the RDA was for vernal pool, then I would amend the RDA just for bank flag, because that's the only additional piece of information that will help us in the future for an NOI, is that we can agree on the top of bank, and then we know where the pool limit is, and being a problem with catching minimum amount of shiners last year and not yet being able to get out there with a boat to see offspring shiner. This gets me at least to know where the first 100 feet is, and there was some discussion with Rebecca that we would work to give you mitigation if we were to ask to work under a notice of intent somewhere within the 100 to the 200 foot zone outside of the pool. And, that would be under an NOI. So I still sure we could get an agreement on the top of bank flag at the time of an NOI, but because we're in an RDA, the top of bank flag could also be agreed upon, the limit of resource area.
Okay.
On RDA.
I think that the commission, that you could allow him to revise what he's asking for under the RDA and change it so it's just for the bank flagging, which he's showing here. I think you have that discretion, or you can make a determination on what's available. So I think if you proceeded to allow him to revise his submission, I think that there's no concern with doing that, and then we can review the bank flag and issue a determination for what he's requesting, which would be just review of that bank flag. And Glenn, I'd ask that your request is very specific to just that, because we do have an order of resource area delineation for the extent of the bordering vegetated wetland. but I think it would be necessary that you revise your submission request for what the RDA is for.
I would get that revision in tomorrow. Not that I'm pushing along, but that's an easy out of my office to get out, and if the commission was amenable to that.
There is one
So
addition.
you're asking,
David Barnacle, we need to make one addition to that also. If you're going to modify the plan, I think that according to the local regs, you should include where the 200-foot buffer zone is for the vernal pools.
But we did say we would put that
Agreed.
200 on the.
Okay, but it had not been mentioned by the commission, and I didn't know that it had been accepted by you yet, Glenn.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he did accept that he was going to mark them as vernal pools and 200 feet at a previous meeting.
Yes.
Not on the plan.
I know, you're
I'll put it-
absolutely correct. I'm agreeing with you.
Thank you. Glenn Kowalski, thank you. We'll get that on the plan.
All right, so we're going to have a continuation. You're going to get that on the plan and get it to Becky?
ASAP.
and revise
Right away.
the request.
With it,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
So do we want, this is Eric Gaspar, do we want to ask for a third-party review at this point, or do we wait another 2 weeks to get the plan in and then ask for it, which we're probably going to inevitably just ask for the third-party review of that top of bank anyway? So why don't we just advance it at this point?
I feel comfortable walking the site and checking the flagging for the bank there. I don't know that it would be necessary
Yeah.
for this to require the third party. I can leave that up,
Okay.
that up to you. I feel comfortable.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
kind of
a
agree
big
with you.
project site. It wouldn't take me
I'm
long.
We've already
to
been
do
on
that.
it. We already walked it.
Yep.
Well, once, at least once.
Yeah, I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
The top of bank flags, just to be clear, is in most cases, the woody vegetation begins upgrading the top of bank. Because of this thing holds water year round, the marsh vegetation is downgrading the woody vegetation. The top of bank is fairly clear, except that it had been flooded for a short period of time, and this is the first time the beavers came in. There was no evidence before this time, so they finally found this site. Although they found a lot of sites before this, this is a headwater pond up a little dinky intermittent stream, and surprise it or not, they had just found it within the last year. And even though beavers have been around generally in our area since the 80s, in this general area. Thank you.
Can we move forward,
All right,
Mr.
so
Chairman?
Yeah, let's go.
what'd you say?
Yeah.
Barnacle, you in favor of a continuation?
I'm in favor.
All
Along
right.
with, as long as we receive the information that we have requested.
Yes, sir. Glenn Devine.
Eric?
In favor. Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen
Stephen?
Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor.
We
All right.
thank you
We
for
have
your mission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are now to,
Have a good evening. Thank you, people, very much.
we're now to 7:15. 27 Ladd Road, Notice of Intent, DEP file number 300-1056, continuation from February 4th, 2020. R. Jennings, 508 International applicant. A. Salou, owner. O'Neill, representative, replacement of decking on existing telephone pole bridge.
So
do we
I
do?
did receive today a written request for continuation. They stated that Glenn Kovrovsky has been engaged for the purpose of flagging the site and is scheduled to return to the site this coming Sunday. Once the flags are installed, it will take the survey about a week to complete the plotting and prepare the plan. The client is ready to move forward but cannot proceed until the flagging work is finished. So I would recommend at this time granting the continuance request. And then if the materials aren't received, we do have a court date on June 18th. If the materials aren't received, I think we can then refer it to town council.
Sounds good to me. David?
In favor, David Barnacle.
Eric?
First, point of order. Stephen, are you recused from this?
Yeah, I tried to cut in. This is Stephen Chittis.
I'm sorry, Stephen, I didn't hear you.
Anyway, Eric Gaspar, I agree.
And Ed Goodwin, I agree also. So that's 3. We have a continuation.
Okay, so that'll be continued to 7:15 on June 16th.
Great.
Oh,
What's next, Beck?
7:30.
yeah, I'm just gonna. Yep, I didn't give Kravofsky a time for 1:30, 1:40, but we're gonna change that. So at 7:15, we're gonna put 1:30, 1:40 Fisk Hill Road, which was the RDA we just discussed. 27 Ladd Road north of intent will be continued to 7:30 on June 16th. All
Good.
right, so we've gotten through all our permit requests. So we did the public hearings, we did the letter permit. We have new business, old business. The signatures, unfortunately, I didn't get to finish those orders of conditions for you to review, so I don't have them available. We still have time to issue those, and I will get those done and sent over for your review as soon as possible.
All right.
And I'm not sure if we have anyone on the line we have a couple of old business items. We have 30 River Road and 118 Lead Mine.
Phil's on the line.
Hold on, let me turn it back on.
30 River Road.
Okay, Phil's mic is on. Beck, yeah, there you go.
I don't have anything else to share at this time, so if you want to take my screen off, you can do that, Jeff.
What? Oh, you want me to take presenter back?
You can stop sharing my screen.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so we'll do, this is old business. It's DEP file number 300-1021, 30 River Road. This is for an update for an enforcement order that we had issued and potential review of third-party proposals. So just to get started, we do have the project proponent on the phone. Just to let you know what I've been kind of working on since our last meeting and discussion on May 5th for this. I've sent out proposal requests for the wetland impact that was outlined in the enforcement order. I did have a deadline for last Friday, and I did receive some proposals. However, I'm waiting for revisions to the scope of services, so that way it fully encompasses what we're looking for. So due to that reason, I would recommend that we continue the review of the proposals to the next meeting to provide for that time for the revision. A couple of the proposals only included visual surveys, so we asked for that change on that. In addition, just an update, I've been on the site since the last meeting, and final stabilization is well underway. Recent storm event on Friday did not result in any turbidity in the downstream pond. I'm not aware that since the modifications have been made since the last time I've been out there that there has been any issues, so it's great to see that those improvements have been made. I've also been in touch with the project team, including the new engineer that was on here for our last meeting to discuss review of the revised drainage system and documentation of the project revisions. So areas of the drainage changes that had the potential to increase some of the volumes in those sub-basin areas needed to be assessed to make sure that they're still kind of in compliance with the regulations. And we also need an as-built plan to reflect the site modifications out there. So it's my understanding that the project team's working on that, and I asked Phil to kind of attend and give a little bit of an update to the commission on the project as well.
Bill, are you there?
I am here.
Hi.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Welcome. Good. We're looking for an update on your project.
Well, in a nutshell, we are continuing to march we have generally between 15 and 25 worker contractor guys on site every day during the week. Our site count has been reduced down to about 343 from a total of 396 when I bought the park. We are currently, we have all of the infrastructure in, meaning the water, sewer, electric, and Wi-Fi cable TV lines, which is really the disruptive part of Earth movement. We have all of that into but 60 sites. We have 60 sites remaining that are underway, with Chesla working in one section and Piapi working in the other section. Of the 60 sites that are remaining for infrastructure, only 7 are either partially or wholly in the jurisdiction area. So for all intents and purposes, in regards to water, sewer, electric, and other trenching, we are out of the jurisdiction. We have also, let me see, we also have grass growing and coming in many areas really quite strongly. The old Yogi Square area is looking fantastic with strong grass, in our area that we called our 400 section that has a lot of sites has a significant growth of grass. So we only have 2 sections left to do, and that is the area along Route 15 that used to be called Cindy Circle, and then that area around the quadrangle area right up front where the resort center is. We are projecting being able to finish those 2 areas in the next 3 weeks, and then it's a question of just providing the small details like all the furniture and all the furnishings for our 4 conference or larger conference centers. And then we will be very close to being ready to be open. We have, yesterday we met with our engineer, Corey Broder of Kennard Engineering, and we reviewed what we have done thus far, and I'll let Jim Piapi address the continued enhancements that we've made to our stormwater. That, as Becky was kind enough to point out, we haven't had any incidents of discoloration or turbidity from any of the rain events since we last talked. And we think we're making great progress on a lot of really minor stormwater enhancements, but when taken collectively, add up to a significant improvement on our stormwater management. Let me see. I think with your permission, I'd like to turn it over to Jim Piapi, who is here, who can best describe what we've done since we last talked back in, I guess it was May 5th, at our last meeting, in regards to stormwater enhancements and improvements overall, and what he's been addressing with Becky in regards to other measures we might take to continue our improved stormwater management efforts.
Great. The only thing I would say before we let you off is that, you know, a key to this whole thing is we need a plan.
Yeah, and
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we're working with Corey to put together a very good plan. One of the things we're hoping to do, perhaps in the very near future, is that 4-bay that is in lieu of 3 different sites, sites 201, 202, and 203. We were hoping to put in a 4-bay there for a little more extra retention, and we have submitted a plan for that that I believe Rebecca has. We have one other area that we're working with Corey now on the Hillside retention basin that we had proposed in what we called an emergency situation to catch some water runoff that may come down from the 400 section and to alleviate the pressure on our little stream down here. And so we're working with Corey to prepare that, and we've given Corey the go-ahead to start working on as-builts for the project.
Okay, good. All right.
Jim, after you.
How you doing, guys? So just
Hi, Jim.
How you doing?
Good.
Just an update on what we've been working on as far as stormwater goes. Becky has seen some of this on site. We replaced the drainage line through the hillside from the meadows down to the pond, and it now discharges through a catch basin and then into a small detention basin, which has an outlet structure. So I would say, is a significant improvement. And last time it rained, we didn't see any turbidity or discoloration, and that spot was a problem before that. Almost every time it rained, we reprofiled the roads on the south side of the 400 sections, which is a pretty steep hill, and created a low point, installed a catch basin, directed the water through a pipe into a rock line drainage swale that goes into the meadows, which then goes into infiltrators, and actually goes eventually, if those fill up, goes to that hillside. So that water had been running down like the Upper Beach Conference Road, and then onto that Lakeshore Drive, and that was causing a lot of erosion. We curtailed all of that. We excavated the side of the Upper Beach Conference Road and haven't installed the rock yet, but Becky and I thought it would be a good idea to put like a rock line swale up the whole way. That's all simple. Just all we have to do is install the rocks.
Did you just move? Did you move away from your phone? Your voice changed.
Sorry.
Going to the refrigerator for another beer?
Give me one. I just drank yours.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then we're looking at some other minor changes. There's a small drainage basin that we installed in Yogi Circle that holds water, and we're going to Corey from Leonard Engineering has helped us come up with a solution to drain it so it doesn't hold water, which they're not supposed to. And we'll submit a plan on that. He's gonna, and I reviewed all of this with him, I guess yesterday, and he's working on plans and also ideas. We still have to do that hillside retention basin. We're getting close to that point, and it seems to me that everything we've done has made a significant improvement. And as we see problems, we'll just keep addressing them.
Great.
Jim, I just have a question, if that's okay. Going back to the basin by the stream and enlarging that with the forebay, which Phil was talking about, we had discussed kind of putting that on hold and seeing how some of the other improvements helps manage and infiltrate water. Do you think you're at the point where, with the engineer, that you definitely feel like you need to move forward with that? Because I think that's something that we can review. I think we had just discussed about looking at where the improvements left you and seeing if that would be necessary or not.
You're right. I guess we really need to install that bigger detention basin on the hillside first and see, if it's. I think after we get that, it may not be necessary. You're absolutely right, and so I guess we're not moving on that until we get that other stuff built
Okay.
and a couple more catch basins installed. So you're right.
Okay.
Hey, hang on a second. This is David Barner. If we had a plan where an engineer had done the mathematics and had done all of the drainage calculations so that we knew exactly what was taking place there, we wouldn't have all of these questions. Instead, we would have a plan that you can actually implement. This is not supposed to be fix it as you go. This is supposed to be make it work according to a plan. The previous plan was proven to be completely inoperative. It wasn't doing the wetland job because of various influences. But I don't understand trying to fix it after the fact. What the plan is supposed to do is prepare you for what might occur and have an engineering likelihood that it isn't going to occur because the plan is dealing with it.
You're right, Dave, but we couldn't really wait for a plan if we were going to do something to stop the problems we were having. So
Jim, I don't disagree, but it's been 6 weeks. I'm not waiting for a plan. It's been 6 weeks.
We have a plan, Dave. You just don't. I mean, if you're not pleased with what we've been doing, the other thing is, keep in mind we have a plan that you guys approved that was completely inadequate, and I think part of that problem is because so much of this was a rebuild or whatever. The requirements are different.
Jim, there were tons of changes that were made that had nothing to do with that plan, and that's one of the reasons that that plan is inoperable.
We are developing a plan with Corey even now. We've submitted a plan for a forebay that we've agreed can be put on the back burner. We're developing a plan now for the Hillside retention basin, and the other improvements that Jim has made are relatively minor in regards to just, go ahead.
Hey, Dave, but you know what? I understand your perspective on the plan, but I mean, what we're really looking for is results, and you're getting results.
And we're developing a plan to show what we've done in areas where there was no plan previously.
The other thing is, I can tell you historically some of the issues that we've addressed. There's evidence of long-term erosion in the pond. I mean, there's like sandbars and places where sediment has run into that pond for 30 years. So I mean, we've fixed all problems that weren't addressed on the plan.
Becky, how do you feel about what's transpired since we gave them the okay to go ahead and have you and Jim put your head together and try and correct the problems that were down there?
I think that we've made a lot of improvements on the site. I mean, there's a couple of areas that need to get looked at. The engineer, I'm glad they've had him go out there, and I think that that's going to be useful. I agree that the approach of getting the plan just wasn't going to work, considering what was going on the site and how we had to immediately kind of stop the bleeding. I think the improvements in the long term are going to be really important for the resource area, considering there was a lot of discharges, and now we've been able to kind of work to remove those and get some more infiltration on the site. So I think that the long-term net benefit for the resource area is going to be beneficial in that had we waited and had to develop the plan first, I think we would have had some more impact for now. I do agree that I think the plan is absolutely necessary, and there's some areas of the site that I've talked to the project team about that definitely need the engineer to look at and substantiate. So Dave is correct there. We really need to have that first, and it would have been useful to have it first, but that's not really the situation we're in. I think that we try to find a time frame of when we'll get a plan to substantiate what they're doing on site. But I think we have an improvement overall.
I guess my question is for Phil. Phil, can you help us here? Because, there's one side of us that wants to support what you're doing, and then the other side, that we really do need a plan. How soon can you start to give us some of this plan on paper?
Well, as I said, we've already had Corey draw up a draft on the forebay, which is on the back burner until we see the impact of the Hillside retention basin. He was here yesterday. He spoke with Becky on the phone earlier, or late last week, or maybe it was I guess it was late last week. And, we've given him the green light to prepare the plan. What
did he say? Did he say he was really busy and he's probably going to get to it at the end of the summer, or what did he say to you?
No, he's really quite a good guy and realizes the importance of getting this to you guys. So I would say we should have a plan within the next 2 weeks, but I can't honestly speak to him, but speak to his schedule. But when we talked to him yesterday on site, he felt that he could get something to us relatively quickly. Okay. I didn't try to pin him down to a specific date, but he's on it.
But you can do that, right?
Pardon me?
I said you can do that, right? You can pin him to
a specific
down? Date? Yeah. You're a tough guy. We know.
That and 50 cents to get me a cup of coffee when the date comes and goes and he doesn't have the plan. But no, he is earnest in his efforts. He understands the importance of it, and he's on it. And I will say this: he prepared that plan for the forebay very, very rapidly. And my hope is that he can get the Hillside Basin and then document the enhancements that Piapi has made and be able to show clearly or opine clearly that these improvements are all part of the BMPs and they're having a positive impact.
Great. Can we have him on, schedule him for our next meeting? 2 weeks?
I can't speak to his schedule. We'll certainly ask him, but yeah, I can't see any reason why not.
Okay. Stephen, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
Eric? What do you think?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Chairman?
Did somebody say something?
Yes, I asked you if you were coming back to David Barnick.
Yep, I was waiting for you. Go.
According to the enforcement order that we submitted, item number 5 says that an immediate document and implemented project changes which do not conform to the approved project plan shall be conducted by a third party and the PE be selected and retained, et cetera, et cetera. And the last sentence says a letter of commitment to confirm this order shall be submitted to the SCC by April 30th, 2020. April 30th is well done, and we have no letter of commitment from the applicant. We also have 3 other April 30th dates that were due and have not been submitted. If the Conservation Commission wants not to have that take place, then they need to modify the enforcement action and take off those dates, because they're meaningless if someone can just ignore them.
I think I did submit something on or about April 30th that was a commitment to adhere. And we're moving, and then we had in our last meeting a discussion in regards to how best to proceed, and that was with Piapi and Rebecca discussing enhancements to the stormwater drainage challenge and address them with a mutual consent. And so with that, we've been proceeding to try to enhance the stormwater, and it's been effective. We have an engineer who is working on developing a plan now, and that should be forthcoming, albeit one part of it has already been submitted, the forebay plan. So we're doing all that we can to comply with the consent order. Our understanding was the consent order we could proceed with making these small enhancements that cumulatively have a nice overall impact of making these small enhancements that Rebecca is aware of, that Piapi advocates given his 40 years of experience of doing this kind of work. And we're seeing positive results.
Yeah, I think those statements, from my point of view, Phil, are all comfortable, except for I think that the expectation for follow-up paperwork was much greater than what we've seen. I submitted something, I believe, on April 30th. I'll try to dredge it up, but I did submit a pretty detailed letter to Rebecca on or about April 29th or 30th, in trying to comply with the consent order, or not the consent order, but the cease and desist order. Yeah, well, I think I have no problem. The part that, as I say, I agree with everything you said with regard to Jim and Rebecca going off and working together and coming up with a plan and implementing. There was a list of things that they were looking at. I have no problem with that. I just know that we've gone well beyond the amount of time that, in my mind, we expected to see some formation of a solid plan. We will get the plan. Okay. We said we're going to get the plan. Good. And I apologize if it seems delinquent, but we've been trying to really boil down the source of our problem. And the source of our problem, as I say, Becky said, nothing but positive. We don't need to go back to where we have succeeded in order to talk about where we haven't succeeded. So we have to get a plan. We've got things going, and we need to get it down on paper and continue. And we will. Yeah. Anybody got anything else? David, you want one last shot? No?
No sense to it.
Beg your pardon?
There's no sense to it.
Okay. All right. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Take care. What's next, Becky?
We lose Becky?
Is Becky.
All right. Motion to adjourn. No.
Wait a minute, I thought that was Steven's job.
It is, but I saw an opportunity, so I had to take it.
Oh no, it's final. I saw all the hands go up. We're done.
Glenn's still here, though. What do we?
I had my mute button on. I'm sorry.
Oh.
So I had a mute button on. So 118 Leadmine Lane. Just a quick update for the cease and desist. I don't believe that we have the property owner on here or the engineer, but we did have a site visit last Tuesday. Eric, Steve Halterman, and myself went out there. We met the property owner and the engineer. He's retained to help him with this. So we review the site. Just as a reminder, there's two different sections of this property that, I wonder if Glenn forgot he left his computer on here, but two different areas.
We can shut him off? Oh, he shut the lights off in the room. He's left the computer on.
What's that? Mr. Chair, can you hold on 1 second? We've got someone on the phone.
Hello?
Sure.
Hello?
Yes, are you on the line for 118 Leadmine?
Can you hear me, Becky? Hello?
Yes,
Yeah,
hello?
Gary?
Can you hear us?
I'm here.
Okay.
And what's your name?
Okay.
Great.
I am here.
What's your name?
I'm sorry, I couldn't, I tried to butt in, but I couldn't, I guess you weren't hearing me, that's okay.
What's your name?
Gary Kelleher, 118 Lead Mine.
All right, there you go. All right.
All right, thanks,
great.
thanks for being on, Gary. I was just giving the commission an update and just talking about the site visit. I don't know if you heard me or not, but I was just saying that we met you out there last Tuesday. You had your engineer that you retained. We looked at a couple of the different areas that were of concern on the site, one being the area with the direct impact where you put the crossing in for a potential development, which is something that a lot that you've recently subdivided. We also looked at down on the lakeside, we looked at the portion where your house is, with the parking area across the street, and also the pavement that was put down for the parking area. So we kind of left the site visit, we reviewed everything, spoke to the engineer. The engineer does, been flagging some wetlands, but we had requested for him to have a wetland scientist look at that area and look at the boundary of the resource area and any areas that were filled on the upper and the lower section, I guess. So do you have any updates since the site visit for us?
Well, first of all, thank you for attending the site visit. I'm sorry all of you couldn't make it, but it is flagged as you saw it. I did sign on with Land Planning Inc. out of Grafton, and he is going to be with me and he will have a set of plans for you at your next meeting in 2 weeks. He will conduct, if you let me, I really want to get up there and do the perk test, but anyway, he will survey the existing conditions of the site with the topo, the wetlands, and the edge of the road, and he's also going to draft a septic design and hopefully go right through the construction support. Now, as you saw where I went up, because I thought there was an exemption for accessibility for a perk test, so shame on me, because that's all I was trying to do there. We will have an alternate plan if it works out better for a future driveway, but really all I want to try to get done right now with the board's approval, the commission's approval, is a perk test, and then and follow through with all the rest of the things that we have to do up there.
Okay, so will the engineer have wetland scientists go out there to look at the boundary and potential fill areas?
Yes, and he assured me that he'll have everything ready for you in paper format, plans as well as an explanation, and we'll attend the next meeting.
Great.
I know you were just looking for an update, so I'm just trying to give you what I have. Hopefully that's a step in the right direction. As you know, I'm still looking for a lifting, if you will, of the cease and desist so I can get up there and schedule a perk, which also Land Planning Inc. will be running the show for that.
All right. Becky, any comments?
No, it's good to see that he's going to have something within a couple of weeks. I think that at that time we can have some more information to look at, and you can we can figure out a pathway for this project and any type of restoration activities, mitigation that might be required.
Absolutely. So you're going to put him on, schedule him for the next meeting?
Yes.
Sounds good. Any comments from anybody on the commission?
I asked the question, can I schedule a perk test or do I have to wait?
You have to wait.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah. Dave, Eric, Steve, anything?
No, I was just going to comment about having to have him wait on the perk test. So.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Last but not least, last item is new business. So this is the Wetland Protection Fund appropriation for fiscal year 2021. So historically, the Commission's been using funds from the Wetland Protection to pay for a portion of the administrative assistant's salary. This has been for 5 hours a week. This year I'd requested additional hours for the position to assist me, and we were advised to look to use the Wetland Protection Fund for this year for those extra hours. So I am requesting to allocate pay for 10 hours out of the fund for now per week. This would increase Holly's hours from 25 to 30 hours a week for the upcoming fiscal year. And the amount, so I'm requesting a motion to approve the expenditure of it's $10,174 from the Wetland Protection Fund to fund a portion of the Conservation Department's administrative assistant salary for fiscal year 2021. We're going to go back and revisit this for budget season for next year to see if it's something that we can continue to appropriate out of the Wetland Protection Fund, or there might be other options available.
A motion that we approve of the use of the monies from the Wetland Protection Fund to augment the salary of the clerk for the conservation region.
I have a second?
Stephen Chittister, second.
Okay, any discussion?
This is Eric Gaspar.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh. Yeah, this is Eric Gaspar. Jeff, do you have any concerns?
Only that you'll use the money to have longer meetings. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't. I think it's appropriate. I think Holly does a great job, and the more support Becky can get in the office and for these tasks that Holly is very good at, the more Becky is freed up to do her job. So I think it's appropriate, and I appreciate your support on that.
And in terms of the budgetary issue itself, we have over $90,000 in that account, so taking out $10,000 is not going to be a hazard, at least not this fiscal year.
All right. Okay. All in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
Eric
Gaspar in favor.
Okay, and Ed Goodwin in favor. Done. Beck.
Great.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to point out that we skipped over the approval of the minutes at the beginning of the meeting because we were running late to start the hearing. So.
Okay, good point.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the 7 1/4 hour meeting, which wore out the board, which is one of the reasons why we have to increase the amount of salary given to the clerk.
That's right.
You have
David,
a second? You have a second?
Yeah, Eric Gaspar, second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar. David, you had said something about making a comment about the minutes when you were giving your trails update. Was there something that you needed to address?
Mr. Gaspar, yes, indeed. In the trails update, there's a comment that says the Trails Committee has been meeting twice a week and making corrective actions and cleaning up some of the trails. And it's only minutely incorrect. It's not the Trails Committee that's doing that. It's a group of members of the Trails group under the auspices of the Trails Committee.
Right.
The whole Trails Committee does not go there because many of them have actual jobs. And one of them, as a matter of fact, has a night job and comes over there to do extra cleanup, et cetera. So it's the way that it's worded. So I just wanted Holly to be a little bit more careful next time that it doesn't sound like it's the whole committee. If you read the minutes, it says specifically that it's the Trails Committee that's going out.
But it wasn't in the May 5th minutes anyway.
Yes, it was.
Was it?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Well, did we vote? I'd like to see that vote. I didn't get, David, are you in favor of approving those minutes? Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Becky?
We don't have anything else.
What about not under signatures, Becky, the orders of,
Oh,
Oh, I said that earlier. I didn't finish drafting those yet, so I don't have them ready for you.
okay, thanks.
Great.
Mr. Chair, I make
That's all,
a
folks.
motion. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
do I have a second?
David
All in
Barnes.
favor?
Eric Gaspar, second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Here, huh?
Thank
Becky,
you, everyone.
you. Great job. Hey, Becky, great job preparing. Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, have a good night.
Take care.